Hi y'all, Jamelyn here with Backyard Dino. So I just filmed a video on the 6 things I wish I would have known before getting chickens. In this video, I'm going to tell you the 5 things I would have done differently before getting chickens. So my last video, I told you I did a bunch of research before getting chickens. I thought I had done my due diligence and I was prepared and ready to go. And the reality is that I just wasn't expecting what it ended up being. It was a little bit different from what I had hoped. In this video, I wanted to talk about the things I would have done differently if I could go back in time. The first thing is I would have started out with a nice coop to begin with. We initially did a DIY coop using some materials we had at the house and just put it together ourselves. It looked really unattractive. It wasn't very practical. We had to crawl into the back of their coop to get eggs, and it was just not set up for how we would have liked it to have been. When we moved to our house that we're living in now, we bought a new coop, one of the kits, that it was like the over easy large chicken coop, because I was like, it looks cute, it's got all the features that we would need for our chickens, let's just buy that and be done. I wish we would have done that first, but then we would have had the problem of moving it to this house. So I think it all worked out fine, but if we could go back in time and do it again, I think we would have just started out with the nice coop first instead of trying to put one together with just junk we had. Number 2, I wish we could have had our coop ready before our chicks outgrew their brooder. So we ordered our chicks online from a hatchery and they shipped out overnight to us and we got them the next day. We had the chickens in their brooder for a couple of weeks inside of our house. The thing about it is they grew a lot faster than what we were expecting, and as they got bigger, they got very stinky. I was ready for them to be out of the house, but we didn't have their coop ready outside yet. So going back in time, what I wish we could have done is have the brooder and the coop ready before our chickens were delivered. Number 3, I wish we wouldn't have started out with 10 chickens. That was way too many, I think, for a beginner. And also we were living on a 1/4 acre lot at the time, and it was just too many chickens. In my last video, I talked about how they tore up our yard. I think if we would have started out with less chickens, they wouldn't have been as destructive as quickly. But 10 chickens was just a lot. The reason we ordered 10 chickens was because the hatchery we ordered from online, they had a minimum quantity of chicks that they would mail. The thing about 10 chicks is that they were able to keep each other warm in the box as they were transported through the mail. So if you have any less than that when you order them online, there's a risk that you might lose some because they're not able to stay warm. So what I wish I would have done back then is just started out off with maybe 3 or 4 or at most 5 chicks, because they would have been a lot quieter and less destructive on our yard, and I think that would have been a good number to have. The other problem with having 10 chicks that are all the same age is that they all started laying about the same time. So we were getting 9 to 10 eggs a day for months on end, and that was just too many for us to keep up with. I tried selling them online, giving them to family and friends and neighbors, and we still just had a surplus of eggs. And after their first year, they start laying fewer eggs. So we're at the point now where we're only getting 3 to 4 eggs a day, which is a lot more manageable. But if we would have started off with 3 to 5 chicks that first year, and then maybe every year add 1 or 2, or at most 3, then we could have had a more consistent, steady supply of eggs instead of having so many that first year and then having a hard time getting enough eggs now. Number 4, I wish we could have started out with a chicken run to begin with. I've already mentioned how destructive they were on our yard. It was because we let them free range. If we could go back in time, I would have had a chicken run that was dedicated for them right off the bat. So just a place for them to scratch around and tear up, but it's just in a single area and not all throughout the yard. And then number 5, this is from Steven. He would have preferred that we used a brooder plate instead of a heat lamp when they were chicks. So we used a heat lamp in their brooder when they were still living inside, and I think it was perfectly safe, but it did make Steven very nervous. He would go and check on it constantly. So if we could have gone back in time and done things differently, we would have invested in a brooder plate just right off the bat so that there wasn't a fear of starting a fire or it getting overheated or any of that. The brooder plates were kind of pricey, as I recall, when we were looking at them, and that's why we didn't get it at the time. But when you're planning out your flock and starting chickens, just take that into account. That way you won't have to worry about the heat lamp catching on fire. I think they're safe, but I can understand the concern with having them. So there you go, the 5 things we wish we would have done differently before getting chickens. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.